Hi, everybody. Welcome to Real Siblings. It Ain't Easy, a podcast that just ain't typical. If you've listened, you know that by now. I'm
Well, if you
Donna, and this
haven't,
is
you're
my
gonna. Yeah.
this is my brother Eric, and we are Real Siblings. We are both professional realtors with Keller Williams. He is in the San Antonio area of Texas. I'm in Tucson, Arizona area. Yeah, that Tucson, Arizona area. That's a lot, Eric. It's late. Oh, anyway, yes, we ramble. Our goal is to communicate, educate, connect, and entertain you with conversations that go in a lot of different directions. And we talk not only about the housing market that we work in, but a lot of lifestyle. On our last episode, we talked a little bit about eminent domain, and I'm going to throw it to Eric shortly. But right now, we're going to talk about what does it mean when something is under new management. And I told him because I'm his older sister, I'm just going to say, I'm the manager, I'm the boss. Don't try to change it.
She the boss of me, and I ain't gonna say nothing. So go ahead, keep talking.
So there you go. But in the last episode, Eric, we were talking about land being taken over for better use, different purposes. So you have a picture behind you. So for those of you that are watching versus just listening, there's a great big what looks a substation, you said, back behind you there. And so we were talking about all of the things that are being built in our cities as they expand, and how whatever someone had as that view before may not be the view the same right now with modern technology.
Things have changed, and I did not intentionally take this picture for that reason. Uh, I had been out and about, not far from where I live, not far, 9 miles from where I live. 25-minute drive to get there because of the twists and turns on the roads. But as a crow flies, 9 miles. There is a small, rural, unaffiliated, independent grocery store chain.
Okay,
And I say chain, I shouldn't have said that, just independent grocery store.
okay. Where is it at, Eric?
Hill Country Groceries in Lake
Hill
Hills.
Country Groceries. Okay.
So one day I'm driving by and it's like under new management. It's like, wow, what does that mean? When I saw it, because I really do spend a lot of time thinking ideas, what can we talk about? What are potential topics? And how under new management, I think for most people, they see it as like, wow, we're going to have great changes. This is an improvement. And is that always the case? I mean, I think the intent behind it is to say, hey, you need to swing by. We're under new management. Things have changed. Even if you'd never been in here before, in this case, this little rural grocery store.
Is it one that I drive by on the way to
No,
your house?
you have
Okay, because there's one where
never.
there's meat and stuff like that that we've gone in.
Yeah,
That
Shots Meat Market, but
okay,
that's more of a convenience store gas station. This is actually just a grocery store.
okay.
Uh, you've got a certain amount of fresh produce. You've got a freezer section. You've got all the normal canned goods, things along those lines. Whereas a convenience store is going to have a loaf of white bread, a loaf of wheat bread, peanut butter, things along those lines that you're just going to grab. It's like, hey, we need to have something to eat. Grab
Right.
these
Got
simple
it.
things. This is more than that, but it's certainly not along the lines of Fry's or HEB or a super Walmart in the grocery store that's there where you have uh you probably only have two types of cornflakes. You
Mm,
don't have 20 types of cornflakes.
yeah.
So it's that sort of thing. And having been in it before,
You have. Okay, that's what I wondered. Had you shopped
having
it?
been in it prior to the sign being up and the new sign, clearly things had changed. Aisles were different. It was cleaner. Um, it just it really struck me when you see the sign because you see it in our industry, you see it all the time in apartment homes, and also I'll say with condominiums.
Mhm.
The condominium
Who they
townhomes.
being managed by or something? Yeah.
Yes, you wouldn't normally see anything like this sitting out to go for that your property owners association or HOA has changed and it's under new management.
Yeah.
But difference in a condominium, if you're an owner in a condominium and suddenly the condominium decides to sell, because it's an investment. Somebody at some level probably was an investor that bought the condominium, did their 5 year hold. Now it's time to maximize my taxes and move on and sell, and we give it to somebody else or sell it to somebody else. And out comes the sign. It's under new management. Are
Interesting.
are all of the people necessarily thrilled that there's a new manager?
I-
And
So I think that
what ramifications could that have?
I think that there's a lot of levels of it. So, and I'm gonna think about Lindsay, that little grocery store that we had uptown. Uptown. For those of you that it's a block, you guys. And and I was going through papers the other day, Eric, and I found the newspaper article from, it had to have been, you were born in what, 60, what?
65.
65. So Tracy Lewis, those guys are playing at the park, your peers. And mom, there was a picture of mom in the grocery store uptown, shopping in this very faded newspaper that I have packed away in there. And and it made me think about the changes that have taken place in that through the years, because I went back and lived there for 20 more years when you were already out and about and in San Antonio and Europe in the military and things. And so I saw the changes. And now, have you been there since it is predominantly a Hispanic market? And
No.
you can buy tacos there. So when I was home the last time, we bought tacos and ate out on the bench out front. And
And are they good tacos? I'm
yeah,
assuming.
they were pretty good. Yeah, yeah.
I mean, now
And
that we have distinguishing taste buds because of the
living where we live,
Tex-Mex Southwest
yeah. And there's
authentic that we have are
Texas tacos,
accessible
the
to
New
us.
Mexico tacos, the Arizona tacos. Ooh, who's
And
got
the
the
California tacos, which I
yeah,
found when I moved to California for 14 months, were entirely
yeah.
different.
So that store was under new management a lot. When we were growing up, the Randolphs managed it. Was it
Right?
still Randolph's when you were okay? And they lived next to the store,
Right next to
right?
it.
Right. And so the other thing is that in my opinion, I like to think that from an outside perspective, so I don't live in these condominiums, but they're under new management. So there's a piece of me that thinks, oh, maybe the HOA is going to be more solid. Maybe they're going to paint them. Maybe they're going to fix the roofs. Now, as the person living there, I may be like, oh man, they're going to assess us a fine. Oh, who knows what they're going to do. So it's a multifaceted question.
Well, there's an apartment complex. No, it's actually condos that I had a client in the last 3 years. He's been in
Mhm.
there 3 years now. When we bought, they had two swimming pools. And because of the way one of the buildings was oriented next to the smaller of two pools,
Okay.
one of the things the management team is responsible or charged with doing is managing the risk associated with things that occur at a property. Is
Yeah.
it parking lot access? Is it sidewalks? Is it
Yeah.
whatever that thing may be?
Right.
It was determined because of how close one of these two-story condos was to the pool that they were no longer going to fill that pool and make it usable because of the potential for people on the second floor balcony to jump into the pool or attempt to jump into the pool. And it was a good sized jump. I mean, it was close, but the mere fact that from a risk assessment standpoint, they decided one of the things that was a selling point for this was two swimming pools, utility room, everything you need right there.
And
No,
how's gonna be
we're
one.
not gonna open it, we're not gonna fix it.
And that's a very US thing. You can almost guarantee, I mean, now a lot of the windows in Europe open out this way at the bottom, right? But I sat on the windowsill in Scotland with the window wide open, right outside of St. Giles Church, watching people go by. There was no worry about me jumping.
How
Wow,
many hotels do you go into where the window's no longer open?
tons of them.
And you know that's not the case. I mean,
No,
our windows at our 3-story, actually 4-story housing development in Germany,
Yep,
all the windows swung wide open.
right.
It was easy to lean out, jump, rappel, put a tie rope on something, and climb out your
Bring your
window.
furniture up the window because you.
That was the nature of the windows.
Yeah, yeah. Interesting.
But fee structures change, management,
Yeah.
renewal fees for whatever that HOA is. How are we
Mhm.
going to change things? What are we changing in common areas?
Yeah.
Ownership related to that. Well, we're taking this out, we're putting this in.
Yeah.
There were a lot of things in seeing a very simple banner, which I have pictured behind me,
Yeah.
that made me think this is worth having a discussion about because
And let's go back to Lindsay again. So you and I were just talking about, because we're going home for our family reunion and a festival in our hometown. We were discussing the food of our childhood, by the way, that isn't going to be there because that doesn't happen anymore as far as we know. But think about old Zims. Okay, so Zims was is a square dance barn converted. Grandpa and grandma, they're now on, as far as I know, at least their third generation, because I think one of John's sons has taken over.
okay.
And there's been an evolution in the fact they've all grown up helping. I think Rachel was just back there helping serve
Oh,
over some.
Rachel
Yeah,
talks about having to work at the restaurant on
yeah,
and if there's a big event coming up. And I know
yeah.
at some point Zim's hosted early on, I think my fifth year high school reunion.
And so, but did they ever have a big sign out that said under new management? Or because it was kids from the family that
It
just
was
kind of
family who was
morphed.
already there. Does that not count?
Right. They morphed into, doesn't mean there haven't been changes. There's been big changes out there, in what's available and what they do. But do we think about it the same way if someone in a family is just taking over? Because I would bet that if Randolph's had had one of the kids just grow up and run the store and stayed in town, there would be less hoopla about under new management, and maybe people would expect less change.
Well, and go down to the next business on the same side of the street. Noss Brothers Hardware in Lindsay.
Mm-hmm.
Noss was taken
Yep.
over
Yep.
by, and it was Noss's to Noss's.
Yep. Until it was
But
no longer sustainable because of the Home Depots and the big hardwares.
well, and now the Home Depots are being put out of business by
Amazon.
Amazon. We're back to a point where you can buy houses on Amazon and have them delivered to your door, just like Sears and Roebuck did
Okay,
in
that's
the
weird
late
to think about.
1800s to early 1900s.
So,
I have thought in my head that Amazon is now the new Sears and Roebuck. In the
except that you
19th,
can't walk into their warehouse and just get
right,
it.
into the 19th century, if you needed something, get out the catalog and order it. It would be delivered by train to your general store, and you could get whole houses. There's a website or an Instagram account I follow that shows the original kit photos and the diagram that was in and what the house looks like today.
Yeah.
So you can see exactly the houses. So is Amazon new management? I don't think Jeff Bezos and company went in going, hey, we're going to be the new Sears and Roebuck.
No. Yeah. 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 So
But
let's think about this related to our brokerages. So you and I are both with Keller Williams. Keller
correct.
Williams headquarters are Keller Williams Realty, I guess is the given name, in Austin, right?
Austin, Texas.
And
Keller
Gary
Williams
Keller
International.
is still a figurehead, if not, I'm not even sure today of his title, exactly what he is. But all over the country and the world are independent Keller Williams offices with different names. So we are Keller Williams Southern Arizona. You guys are Keller Williams Heritage.
Heritage.
Okay. And
We're one of
as
three Keller Williams offices in San Antonio.
right, with
We're the
different
only
names.
one in Tucson, correct?
We are the only one in Tucson. That is correct. And we are now part, so we have our broker owners, but our broker, there was new management a number of years ago. There was a reconfiguration about who sold what and who bought what. And we are now part of a network that includes Alaska, like 8 offices in Phoenix, and I think some things in Alabama. I don't even know 100% who owns what. That all has meant change from the emphasis of what does a new manager expect and what do they focus on. So with this overarching Keller Williams International, with a lot of things that trickle down and become a little different in Texas than they are certainly in Europe, you know,
Absolutely. Have to.
and it as one of the oldest probably at my office, who's
You are
been
the most seasoned agent
one of
there.
those seasoned agents, thank you, who's been with Keller Williams in Tucson since we became Keller Williams in Tucson. I've seen a lot of change. I don't love change. I I get tired of learning new stuff. I get tired of new rules. Maybe I'm just argumentative as I get
Yeah,
older.
it's we do what we do because we like a certain amount of independence,
Yeah, that's true. We can stop and do a podcast.
and we can stop and record our
Yeah.
podcast.
Yep.
But being told, and it's not even just the new management, it's the new systems that are constantly being developed. And yes, we just have learned, mastered, gotten comfortable with,
Something.
and now suddenly it needs to change.
Yeah.
And is it the computer entry? Is it the focus of the business? Is it?
And what's different in the states, so we have the national rules, just like our country, right? The federal.
Yep.
And then we
Federal.
have the state rules. And you know, I sit in this Zoom group with BNI members from around the country, and they're talking about all the flood insurance and the. Do you do radon? Do you have to do much radon stuff in
We
Texas?
do not do much radon. I actually had it show up on a contract for a new build for a client a couple of years ago, and it's strictly because it was a boilerplate
Plate. Yeah.
new home, and it's a national chain. And I think they borrowed the national chain, and Bradley was just savvy enough, or he wanted to read through, and he goes, why is it saying something about radon?
Yeah. And our house on Main Street when 107 had fuel oil in the basement. I'm pretty sure we had fuel oil in the basement when I lived on Main Street, before we moved here. Did did the 1868 house have fuel
Have
oil?
fuel oil? Yes.
Was
They
it,
used to fill it, come around under an opening underneath the dining room.
is that how they got it to, oh, you mean where the deck was gonna go that never went there?
Yes, the French doors that Dad put in, which just created an open breezeway front porch to that never went anywhere. I designed that pour. I
Like a
designed
big
that
step out the back
patio
door.
one time,
That's one of the best stories about Dad.
and it included a fountain. And
Yeah, yeah. So fuel, that's not even a thing here. We don't have the basements. Grandma and Granddad Beach had a basement. So and they had come from Kansas in the 40s, I want to say.
so was that part of what they did because of coming from Kansas and going,
And you could build
tornadoes?
whatever. Yeah, it was a brick house. It was a ranch style house, and the ground was softer. There was more rain back then. You know, the washes ran more often. So, and I'm just going to say this. I know I've said it before. I think it's nonsense when people say they can't build basements, but we can build pools that are 10 feet deep. Because, you know, if you can do that, you can probably build a basement.
Yeah, but if a pool, if water is coming into your basement or coming into your pool, it's a different thing.
Ah, yeah, it's not like we have a million tons of water coming into our basements. We had our first rain the other day in 6 months, and I was so excited to be outside.
So you've mentioned homes, and we kind of used it with condos. The other one that I think changes most frequently is that I see is your property owners and your HOA management companies.
Oh, yeah.
That's
What do you think that is?
constantly going, because I don't think a single one of them is good. And I think most HOA guidelines create some sort of citizens residence panel, director, advisory, whatever terminology they use.
Mm-hmm.
And part of their responsibility is to make those decisions. And they're constant, just like we're approached by different services to us.
Right.
when you're in that position, it's like, hey, who's the president? Who's the vice president? Who's the treasurer? We want to send them. And all of a sudden they get this offer. And it's like, hey, we can improve this and lower your cost and do these things for you. You should work with us. And they make a decision to make a change to the management company.
Here's the other thing. I think that the grass is always greener because so I live in an HOA. You clearly don't at the top of your mountain. I there's 57 townhouses here. And right now we have a good local, little team here, and our manager is pretty good. So we are pretty solid and in pretty good shape. I remember when somebody got mad about a planter I had out front made out of the bed. You remember I made a chair out of grandma and granddad's bed, and I told my children that if I died with fines from the HOA, I didn't care because I wasn't going to remove that bench just because the HOA didn't like it. Really standing up for
my sister, the rebel.
Yeah, yeah. But the other one where my condo is, and that's differentiation between a townhouse and a condo and the size, there's 250 of them or something with 5 per building. And the HOA is responsible for coating the roofs, painting the exterior, but we're responsible for our own air conditioner that's on the top of my 2nd-story unit, things like that. And that has gone up from $237 a month to $275 a month since I bought it 3 years ago. Now, that being said, it's also very resort-like. There's tennis courts, there's pickleball courts, there's a gym, there's a pool, 2 big pools, there's a lot. And so when people rent or live there, full-time or part-time, it's a little like being at a resort. In fact, sometimes the tenants go there and they think they're going to get towels at the pool, and we're like, no, bring their ones from the house. But the rules change there. And one of the things I'm hearing is that the local board, who tires of some of the Airbnb tenants, is talking about making a week a minimum requirement instead of 2 nights, so that they don't get the transient party people who just hang out and make a lot of noise and a mess. If you're coming for a week, there's more likely a real purpose.
There's a reason you're there.
And that affects people like me, because mine is an Airbnb that I have a 2-night minimum. Now it's small. I don't get more than 1 or 2 people, so it's less likely to be.
But it changes your strategy on how you market, what your pricing is going to be.
Yep.
That sort of thing. And then those same management companies can make a decision to go, you know what? We are going to limit the total number.
Yeah, absolutely.
So you have potential buyers who think they're investing for that reason and find out that they are now locked out until a space becomes available for a short-term rental business out of 250. Even if they said 10%, that's 25 units.
Yep.
And that means pretty much everybody is within two doors
of somebody that is vacant.
That's coming and going and coming and going and coming and going. And cleaning service and trash and the music, like you said, and on and on and on.
Yeah.
Yeah. But from an apartment standpoint, and you could do it from a condo too. If someone's a major investor and buys an entire complex from a condo standpoint, they probably had to pay more money for it than the previous owner did. Absolutely. So that means their structure on reselling and fees and that sort of thing is going to change.
Yep.
And generally that's not going to be to anybody who's currently owner's benefit, like it's going to drop.
Right.
To go one direction.
Yeah.
Like what costs are not going up? Then add in a change of management, change of ownership, and that becomes even more.
So as we wrap this up, I think it'd be really interesting if any of our listeners or watchers, if you happen to watch it versus just listen, let us know if you live in a place where you have either been a new manager or been taken over by new management and how that affected you. It could be our friend Shelly, who manages a store in Oceanside and just has new managers, right? I mean, it might be that as compared to where you live or, the restaurant, things like that. But I would love to know what people think about those.
What does new management mean, and has it impacted you positively or negatively?
Exactly.
So you can go to either one of our emails, which are always posted in the comment section for every single platform we syndicate on. Um,
Yeah.
through our website, you can connect with us, realsiblings.com. So check that out, which is also in the links below. So it's
Yeah.
there. It's interesting. You can send us a social media chat as we get every once in a while.
Yeah. Every once in
Hey,
a
where
while.
have you gone? Yeah,
Yeah.
it's
Alrighty, brother,
nice
you
to
got to
be
take us out because we
nice to
only
be
got a
missed.
couple minutes left.
Yes. How did we manage to stretch that out? All right. Thank everyone for listening. That's what my job is right now. We do not take it lightly and sincerely appreciate that you've allocated some time in your day, your week, your month to listen to and spend time with us on this podcast. As we call it a day, we are hopeful that our insights, discussion have helped you make some decisions about where you're at, what you're doing. What does new management mean? We want you to be able to create a wonderful life where you're building lasting memories wherever you're at. So, final reminder, Donna mentioned earlier, we're both agents with Keller Williams. She's in Tucson. I'm in Texas. I guess that's a city and a state, but the T's seem to go together. So, which means Arizona and Texas, however you want to look at that. We're
Yeah.
here to help you and assist you. If you need help around the world or around somewhere else around the country, we can refer you to a terrific agent. And remember, maybe simple, ain't always easy. Until next time, I'm Eric,
And I'm Donna.
and we are Real
Real
Siblings.
siblings.